I'm going to tell you about the ideology of ISIS. We do read quite often about what ISIS or Daesh. We read quite often about what ISIS does to what it is doing in Iraq and Syria, how much territory it has captured, what are the kind of crimes it is perpetrating, how much looting it is doing. But rarely does one talk about what is the ideology, the idea that animates the IS, what goes on in the mind of IS fighters. And today I'm going to tell you a brief story about it. Now, as I see the group, the IS, it is a millenarian group. And what is millenarianism? Millenarianism is a belief by a religious, political, or social group that the impending transformation, the major transformation of society is imminent, that the transformation would be quick, instantaneous, and sudden. Most millenarian groups consider, as you can see, the current society to be corrupt and its leaders unjust and wrong. They believe that only a powerful force, potent enough to bring about a dramatic change, can redress the ills of the society. And only a dramatic change can challenge the intractability. Intractability is the non-changeability of the current situation. So this change would be brought about or would be survived by the faithful, who will lead the society into its purest form. These are the basic ideas of any millenarian group. And while many millenarian groups are pacifistic, peace-loving, some are also violent, and IS is one. Now, why and how is IS millenarian? Let's have a look at it. It believes in two things: prophetic vision and end-time belief. End-time belief is the apocalyptic belief, the belief that the end of time is near, it is coming, and the humankind would be redeemed in a cataclysmic event. They believe, or at least argue, that they are God's chosen instrument for cleansing history and bringing about end times, which is rapidly approaching, and establishing an Islamic state which eventually leads to a final battle between good and evil near a small town of David in northern Syria in the Aleppo province. And this prophecy that they predict is from the Hadith of Abu Huraira. Hadith is what the Prophet has said, very simply, and it has been compiled by various people. So the Hadith narrated by Abu Huraira was one of the companions of Prophet Muhammad. And his narration is supposed to be authentic. That the Prophet said that the judgment day will come at David in Syria. Now, in the first issue of IS propaganda magazine, that is David, it features a quote from Abu Musa al-Zarqawi. Now, we know Abu Musa al-Zarqawi died in 2006, and he was the leader of Al-Qaeda in Iraq and also the leader of ISIS. He said the spark has been lit here in Iraq, and its heat will continue to intensify by Allah's permission until it burns the Crusader armies in David. So David is an important place, and the name of IS propaganda magazine is also David. I'm showing you the location of David. Is in northern Syria. That is the border, the Syrian border with Turkey. Look at the location. David, this is the propaganda magazine, the cover of the propaganda magazine. So conquering David is extremely popular to the organization. So much so that they have named their English propaganda magazine David. Now, how and why is Daesh millenarian? Again, we continue. In page 4 of this magazine, David is the basis in which one of the greatest battles between Muslims and Crusaders will take place. Now, according to the hadith narrated by Abu Huraira, the story goes is that the Prophet said that the army from Medina will meet the Romans in David. 1/3 of that army will run away, they are deserters. 1/3 will be martyrs, they are the best people in Islam, those who attain martyrdom. And 1/3 will defeat the Romans, they are the best ones. Then they will go ahead and conquer Istanbul, Constantinople at that time. And while they are celebrating victory, the Dajjal, the Shaitan, will appear and say, well, Messiah has come, you should go to your families. But the victors then will leave for their families, but they will realize that they have been tricked. At that moment, Jesus will appear and he will vanquish the Antichrist, that is the Shaitan, Dajjal, with his own hands, and he will embrace Islam. That is when people will become truly free and happy and they can pursue their own religion. That is the ideology animating the IS. Now, IS frequently refers to the term in their publication and videos. After the beheading of Peter Casey, one of the group spokesperson said, here we are, burying the first American crusader in the East. Okay, end of days vision is also essential to understanding. Now we have understood the prophetic vision, end of days, to the group desire to form a caliphate. Now Musa Sir Antonio, Australian preacher and one of the most influential recruiters of IS, said that the establishment of the caliphate, that is the IS caliphate, has been foretold. Now this caliphate, according to the prophetic vision, will go and sack Istanbul before it is beaten back by the army of the Shaitan or anti-Messiah, who will then get eventual death, and a few thousand jihadists will then usher in the apocalypse. That will be the cataclysmic moment. Now, what are the implications of Daesh's millenarianism? Believe that it is working to bring the world closer to redemption, working to bring the world closer to apocalypse. That is used is a very important propaganda tool for recruitment. People tend to join these groups out of extreme idealism. They are attracted by the extreme idealism of the group. Although ISIS promises profanity like plunder, booty, sex, etc., but it also appeals to higher sense of the people, a kind of fantasy that they are part of the redemption, that they are part of the end days. But IS propaganda has been a very powerful tool. It has affected the imagination of people all around the world. And just by the number of people who are joining the IS, it is having a certain appeal, definitely. The ideological message is unique and has proven very effective. Now, if you look at the achievement of the IS on ground, you will see that somehow they are fulfilling the prophetic and apocalyptic narrative. It will seem to confirm that the claim that IS is indeed God-appointed people for bringing forward end times. Now, what are the implications that we can see for India, world, the region of West Asia as such? Now, Daesh's millenarian idea has important implications, as we know. There are two aspects of Daesh's or IS threat. One is the Tafkiri idea, which is enmeshed with millenarianism. For the IS group, Sunni rulers of the region and their supporters have become corrupt. Now let's go back to millenarianism. Millenarian groups want to cleanse society. Millenarian groups want to usher in a pure society. So in the same vein, they say that Sunni rulers of the region, of the West Asian region, have become corrupt and their supporters have become corrupt and unjust. The society has become impure and they must be eliminated. So the society must be cleansed by the act of takfir. Now takfir comes from the Arabic word kufr, which means atheism, blasphemy, anything, paganism, heathenism. It means a whole lot of things. Kafir is an adjective which means somebody who has become infidel, atheist, renegade. Now takfir is an attribute too. This adjective is given to someone who has become a kafir. So takfiri is an act. Takfir is an act of pronouncing somebody kafir. And those who pronounce are called takfiris. Next. Now, what is the implication of the region? The takfiris believe that the Muslims should be those who have become kufr, have to be eliminated or excommunicated. And what is the punishment for apostate and hypocrites in Islam? It is death. So, at the primary, IS want to fix aberrant Muslims. Now, in the next stage, they want to fix the kafir living in Muslim lands, that is the Shias, the Yazidis, and the Christians. And that's why you see they are perpetrating violence against them. In the third instance, Daesh would deal with the Jews who now have an identifiable territory in Israel, and the rest of the world in the east and the west, pagan and atheist world. Next. So what is the next please? What is the implication for India? Their plan of action is moving out from core to the other, from core to outer in concentric circle. Establish a base in a fixed area and use that base to project forward. IS would have preferred not to confront the West for a much greater period of time because they fall in the third concentric circles. Now, implications for India. What I feel that they have made too many enemies and they have become bigger than their ability to control what they have. Let's consider the data. There have been 2,000 airstrikes, 7,000 square kilometers of territories that they had captured has been taken away from them. They have been deprived of oil and gas facilities. There has been a disruption in the organization's finance. So basically, what I would say, they are a gang of vagrants with limited military skills. Even if they are able to get weapons of mass destruction, they will not be able to hold it. It is my assessment that in a short period of time, Daesh will disintegrate into smaller groups, which will also be dangerous, but will not constitute a danger to world peace. Next, please. I also question whether this group has the capacity or inclination to sustain a terror campaign in far-off land. No, actions in faraway places will create policy confusion as the group becomes more desperate. So this doesn't mean there is no cause for concern. The issue of returning fighting volunteers is vexing, and that has to be taken into account. When they return to their countries of origin with a fighting spirit and radicalized mind, with an extensive social infrastructure at their disposal, they are bound to engage in hostile activities. And that I consider the real threat, not the truth itself for any part of the country except for the Middle East.